So we're going to be talking about, the creator economy, digital revenue, the article about Democrats and dark money. So if you have questions as we're talking, feel free to leave it in the comments and we will try to answer it. But we want to really put out, as much info. I've worked in digital media, specifically social media, uh, since people were being paid to post. But they spent 20 million to speak with American men. I don't know. Are they speaking?
I have
Who's
thoughts on
speaking?
that.
We should talk about that too.
We
Yeah.
should talk about that and
Yeah.
that organization and what they're doing, and I think they fit into the overall picture.
Yeah, I would say their problem is that they're still working very institutionally, and they are still making decisions at, like as if they see the world as it was 10 years ago.
1,000%.
And that is not where we are anymore. And rather than, I think the reason conservatives are so successful at this is not because they understand it better, but they understand that they should give, and they're not like, tight fisted with giving money to people who actually who know what they're doing. They're not afraid to experiment. They're not afraid to be creative, and they don't like seek any measurement. Like it's not
There's
like
no there's no prove it.
Right. There's no they're just going to try anything. They're going to throw money at anything, and that I think is a really that paid off,
Yeah.
not because
And
they know what they're doing.
they're very skilled at understanding media cycles and the fact that the media landscape and thus the way people are messaged to and persuaded is ever evolving and constantly changing. And they are always out ahead. They were in talk radio, they were in cable news, and they are in this new media space as well. And we are very tight-fisted with trying new things. I think perhaps in some ways there is more money on the other side because they just have more of a vested interest. If you're a super wealthy person, to elect a Republican. However, I think that it goes beyond that because there is a lot of money on our side. There is a lot of money, but there's
Enough money to do what they need to do. And how do I know that? Because Russia spent much less and got a lot more.
Yeah.
And they did this 10 years ago. So it is like the playbook is out there for everyone but Democratic donors. And that's what's so interesting to me because there are tons of people who understand how to do this and will do it and have paid to do it. But they're just not getting the memo. And what I think is especially interesting in light of this article coming out is that people talk about, this is about dark money, quote unquote, for that Democrats were paying. So we can talk about what makes something dark money, because from what I have seen, it's not really a particularly widely understood thing. And what's most important to know about it is that the reason it exists is because of the right wing, because they pushed basically this constitutional ruling by the Supreme Court that money is speech. So that's why we have dark money, because their rulings resulted in the creation of something called 501c3 and 4 PAC. I don't know if they started at 3. 501c4 PACs, where basically donors could donate, and there's no public record of who donates to it, and then they can fund any issue, candidate, campaign at any endless sum with infinity money. And you don't, unless they disclose or say that it's them, you will not know exactly who is funding it. Obviously there's journalism and people can figure it out, but that is what's legal, and that's legal because of conservatives.
Right. And technically, I will say a 501c4 is not allowed to donate to candidates. However,
it's aligned with candidates.
Because they could make a commercial on their behalf. They can't directly coordinate with the campaign. Also, however, and as I formed an organization and spoken to more and more lawyers, it's very easy to move money between a C3, a C4, and a hybrid PAC. And this is done on the right. And it's just the more you learn and the more you sit there and speak to lawyers, you're just like, oh, so there are no rules. You just have to have a good lawyer, like, who
Yes,
knows these. It's basically like tax loopholes, honestly. It's like how
it
super wealthy
is.
people don't pay their
And
tax.
that's why they're so good at it. This is okay, like, I think it's really underestimated to which point, like, legal, like, lawyering, if you will,
Yeah.
like, le legal engineering has
Yeah.
really created this dynamic because,
Mhm.
yeah, like, a lot of organizations have a 501(c)(3) and a 501(c)(4), and who knows what they're actually doing to, like, skirt those regulations.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this is a bigger problem. This is because they are why does this happen? Why does it have to be so complicated and so transparent in some cases, but not transparent in others?
Mm.
That's because the court ruled that money is speech. So rather than every person having a vote, and being able to, there used to be campaign finance rules are honestly needlessly complicated, but the reason
Yeah.
they are complicated is for tax, like with tax reasons. It's so people who want to manipulate the system can use those loopholes that they kind of forced through the legal system in order to benefit themselves because they're willing to spend any amount on a lawyer. Isn't it a question of morality? No. I don't know what you mean by that, but like, it doesn't matter if you can like be disclosed. I don't know really what you mean by question of morality, but like, this is the system. And even if you adhere to it completely, it still sounds shady what you're doing because
Yeah.
it is shady. It was designed so it could be shady because there's also this asymmetry with what like conservatives will do versus what liberals
Yeah.
will do and
Yeah.
how they spend their money. And it's like a better investment for conservatives. Like there's no like at best the left is investing so that they can pay more taxes, like left wing
Right. And
donors.
I
Like
think they're actually donating because of moral reasons. So the whole question of morality I think is very interesting, and I think it's what this article really really touched upon, and how they trust in their media sources, what people need to disclose. Is it moral to pay someone to advance a certain agenda? And I think kind of the overarching thing that we have to say here that you were explaining with the Citizens United decision is money and politics are inextricably linked. Like this stuff costs so much money. Television commercials, influencer spend, having it costs money to win, to hold power, to
mm,
to lobby. All of this, we live in a plutocracy. Like I don't know what to
we do.
tell you. I always say
Yeah.
my Real Housewives tagline is like my biggest dream is campaign finance reform. Until then, politics is a game of money and we got to play it better than anyone.
Mm.
And like, so to just say like, well, this isn't moral or we're not going to do this, we're just going to keep losing if
Well,
we do.
then you have a problem with the system, and the problem you have is not with, like, the left or the problem you actually have is with the right. Like, these are the people who constructed the system this way for years,
Yeah.
you know,
The only
so
people
that
trying
they
to
could
repeal
do
Citizens
this.
United are
So,
Democrats.
yeah, like, if you want to be in a system, like, okay, I just think it's hard to speak about individual morality in a system that is so fundamentally immoral and constructed with systemic immorality kind of at its core. So, I think it's like and it's not just in politics. Like, if most of what you see online exists for a profit motive. Like, unfortunately, especially now. And I think that, like, it's really not quite understood how money is made digitally and what kind of models are going into everything you're seeing online. And that is only becoming more and more so the case
Right.
as time marches on.
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of the sometimes I call it the business of influencing, but really it's like it's digital revenue, it's how media companies make money, how influencers, non-political influencers make money. Can you kind of give us like a broad overview of that?
So anything you see online on an algorithmic social media company or even like on Reddit, like it could really be anywhere at this point, and that's what's so kind of insidious about this. And I would say a large portion of what we see on the internet is not real organic traffic that like you or your friend or your parent is posting. Like that, yes, of course that exists, but most of everything pretty much. None of those normal people who are just, your random friend who's a lurker, like they're not driving any narrative. They're not driving the conversation. Maybe they can like a post or they can click on someone's link, but they are not actually like if the internet were all just like that,
User
or
generated.
businesses, right, user generated and or businesses that are not funded by some other interest. And I'm going to come back to that because it is extremely rare to have I need the 2002 internet. I think it was really best in like 2012,
And I was
but
going to say, yeah.
like 2013, so it's, yeah, most of it at this point, like it's a business. Like there's so much spam. There's businesses like a small business to advertise on Meta actually has to like pay a vig essentially
Mhm.
to be able to market through Facebook, and so much more budget from marketing is spent like just paying the platforms directly rather than paying influencers or
Yeah.
paying media businesses.
Mhm.
So put it this way, everyone on the internet is making money from either subscriptions by users, or, that includes that's everything from the Washington Post to certain Substackers to, a podcast that runs on subscribers or
Right.
whatever it is, or it's through advertising. So whether that's like you have such a big audience on YouTube that you can actually generate like continuous programmatic advertising
Mhm.
in addition to what are like real partnership sponsorships, where an ad or a company will contract you to do an ad read or to create it, or even as much as creating a full campaign. So Betches is unique in that way. And we have always done things very differently than I would say most of the industry. And that's why I actually think I can talk about this in a pretty nuanced way, is because I both understand the C3, C4 space and the like political speech space. And I understand how money works on the internet and how impressions are changed basically, because Betches it's a brand awareness, advertiser. Like we talk about culture and people always used to say like, oh, we're so relatable, like we're so, everyone wanted to be relatable and authentic. Like
Right.
that has been our North Star since we started an anonymous WordPress blog that was satirical for fun, making fun of like the culture around us that we did not think would be a business. That is how we started. We never took investors. And so everything we did was basically funded through its own profits, or
Mhm.
$1,500 that we each put in when we started it in 2011 to like
Wow.
have a bank account. So we were never like ever funded by an outsider, and it was only advertisers, and that has to be disclosed. So like y- we have been doing that since like people started paying on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so we really came to understand like how do people perceive ads? Like are people like okay with being faced with ads? Like how do they want them? Does it make sense if like we create like our thing is really creating custom branded ads
Mhm.
that are more like content partnerships with
Mhm.
companies. And if you look at like our dunking content, or we'll have things sponsor like tent poles. And it's
Yeah.
not a secret. Like we're aligning with these brands. Like
Yeah.
we're actually like, Drive Our sponsors the You Up comedy shows. Like
Mhm.
it makes sense. And it's not a secret. So it's all very clear. When it comes
And
to
I will just
political, yeah,
note, because the difference when we get into political, so there are requirements by the platform and
DC,
FTC
DC.
guidelines to disclose when a post is sponsored by a business entity, a post or a show or anything. If it's
Yes,
live, we're sponsored by a business entity where we were selling a product, because of the platform's requirements and the FTC, we would have to disclose that.
yes.
And now
Even
we'll
if we're
take the
not like
political
selling
side.
a product. Yeah.
Mm.
Then politically, there's two types of speech. So there's like C3 speech where you do have to disclose. where you're getting this money from. And there's limits, I think. Is that true? Like there's limits to what someone can donate to a C3?
No, so a C3 is is like a C4 is
Yeah.
their donors
Oh,
are
right, right. Unlimited.
uh, but it's technically like you can't engage in partisan work. And then a
Yeah.
C4, you can engage in partisan work, but it has to be like 60-40, and it can't be directly in support of you can't be giving a candidate money. As I said, you can be like doing a campaign for them. And then obviously a PAC is like fully political, and PACs have to disclose their donors. But then the internet side of this is if my C4, and I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this live is because I think so much of what this article teased and the rhetoric I'm seeing online right now is that it all feels so secret and nobody's just like talking about it. And it's like nobody's breaking any laws. I'm actually spending a lot of money to make sure I'm following the law. So I like feel pretty confident. Those lawyers, man, they
Yeah.
a lot of money.
This is
So
the thing, like, the law is shady. Like, the fact
yeah,
that you can,
but
like,
we're following it like
okay, go look at, like, all the
around.
tax laws. Like,
Yeah.
the tax laws are shady. You
Why
can,
do
like,
you
write off your
why are you paying
yacht and your
taxes?
private jet. Like, you know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like, that's shady. That's what this is like. And it's like, there's no and okay, then that gets to the question. I think maybe what this person was asking about with morality is like, well,
Disclosure.
disclosure and, like, is it
There are
affecting
not.
what they're saying?
And so when it comes to political speech that is sponsored, so I think we should talk about the right because they've been doing this for years. Turning Point USA and these organizations knew this a long, long time ago. They would go and pay people who had big platforms to talk about the things that were going to get more Republicans elected. That's a big tent,
Mhm.
but there are, the whole manosphere, tradwives, all of that plays into this. And if you are being paid to talk about something, or you're being paid to, in the case of Chorus, attend a training and then go and make your content based on what you learned in that training, or even not, there is no requirement by the social media platforms and the FEC, which is the Federal Election Commission. There was actually a case that came before the FEC that said you should regulate this, and if people are talking about anything in the political sphere, and they're getting paid, they should have to disclose. And the FEC decided no, they do not, because they are not pushing a business or a product. There is no legal requirement for disclosures. Now, some states are changing that. I believe California was the first to say that that people have to disclose. It's very hard to track, and to my knowledge, there has never been like litigation, a civil or a criminal suit when somebody isn't disclosing that. And there's also, as I said, a lot of loopholes around that. You can pay them in a different state. You can have the campaign be run out of a different state. And by the way, the people that would
Well, how
be
are you gonna prove that they said it because they were paid or they just said it? Like,
exactly. You're gonna
the
look at every influencer's books. You're gonna subpoena every influencer's books. No,
I mean, I could see a world where they did that, but that's not the
that's
point
why we
because
all have
it's like
lawyers. But yeah,
people have like, the thing is with this chorus thing is, like, they chose people who were aligned with them. And the thing is, like, yeah, they were getting paid as, like, parts of the program. Like,
yeah.
I think Chorus's biggest issue is that there seem to have been some secretive or, like, shady sounding clauses, and I
Mhm.
think that that was ultimately the mistake, and the fact that they kept trying to go back and correct, every little thing in that was in the article about the contracts when, like, fundamentally, that's not what was, was interesting about it or was wrong about it, if depending on how you wanna, like, argue it.
Right.
And if anything, like, if I were them, I would have pointed to this bigger question of, like, how are creators paid? Because
Mhm.
the big difference between the left and the right is that the right pays a lot more. Like, and it's not just the right
Be
in
in a
America.
program, right?
It's Russia was paying several right-wing YouTubers like a fuck ton of money,
Ben
hundreds of thousands of
Shapiro is
dollars.
paid like $100 million by just like these two West Texas billionaires because they listened to his podcast like twice and they were like, oh, this guy's going to make a bunch of men vote for a
Yeah.
Republican. So instead of giving their money to a candidate or instead of giving their money to a Trump super PAC who was going to run an ad on the NFL Sunday Ticket, they were like, let's just fund this guy. He is going to be much more effective at persuading a section of voters that are not often messaged to and need this kind of very specific type of long form persuasion. So they funded him for like 3 years leading up to the election. And man, that paid off in dividends.
That's what I think the donors on the left miss is like, okay, $8,000. Yes, that's like that's a decent amount of money, but it's not enough for the reputational risk they're taking or the types of for specific clauses they're signing, not because it's like illegal or it's because it's a bad PR thing. Like, don't you want if you're hiring people, and this is like how the Democratic Party works, it's like they just like don't know how to like it's like a dead horse or a punchline. Like they just know how to beat the shit out of it to ruin it. Like you have something good, you have these great influencers who kind of have natural audiences and you're going to make them sign this thing that like, again, I didn't see the contracts, but like just based on some of the things that have not been retracted from the article. And I will say that the article being in Wired was, that's legitimizing. The right gets way more money and it takes the risk off the table for people. It pays for production. Like I think people really do not understand how expensive it is to produce video, long form video. And like an individual, it's very hard for an individual to just kind of create this this like
news station,
news
basically.
station
People
around
think
them.
V or Aaron are V and Aaron. They're making multiple, like, high quality, well researched videos. Which, by the way, they get something wrong or they're like liable. They have legal teams, they have research teams, they have teams of people, and that costs money. And they're not doing it out of the fucking goodness of their heart.
No.
It's a goddamn job. It's a business. Like, yes. I think they're incredible
approximating
people and they're doing the Lord's work, but they need to eat.
They're making a mini newsroom, essentially. And it's not like that's not a small feat. Like think about the way people talk about MSNBC parting from NBC. They're like, can they make it? I just got an email from Puck that's like, will they be able to make it without NBC? Like if you're telling me MSNBC is a profitable company, they make hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know, maybe they make billions. But if they can't build their own newsroom with real profits like that, I don't know what to tell you. And like, I think maybe it would be helpful to talk a little bit about how like my own situation works. Like, I don't know what people know about what I do. Hold on, I'm like reading what people's comments are. They're not shady, but they're not easily understandable or usable for the average person. Yes, awesome. Okay, yeah. It's not like easily understandable, but okay. So the way that I'm able to do like whatever content I want is because I co-founded this media company. So we started Betches News. Betches News has a very specific tone. You guys should all go subscribe. The tone is humor. The tone is pop culture applied to politics. The original ethos was that politics is a Bravo reunion and we should treat it like that. And that has borne out. We've always been like, it's about the joke. It's about like getting people involved and into something because it's like clearly communicated, it's helpful information, and it's funny, ideally, is like the number one thing. Like that's how you get people to see hypocrisy. Like that's the whole South Park, Colbert, like all of these people have the same, that's like what I grew up inspired by.
Yeah.
And that's
all the millennial men are liberal because of South Park.
Yeah. And honestly, like that inspired me in starting this. And Sarah Levine joined this and she was there when this happened. So she can tell you that that is what we were doing. So,
but without the rest of the Betches conglomerate, would
Betches News. So Betches News is a loss leader. It's like really popular. People love it, but it's not like able to cultivate advertisers the way the rest of the business is. Even it doesn't matter how highly engaged it is, how big the audience is, because lots of advertisers at particular times don't really want to touch news. And so this is an industry-wide issue. However, we have a big business. This is a personal passion of mine. It is a piece of Betches that people love and appreciate. And so we keep this going. It's like, but it's a choice. It's a choice to, and I don't want to say it like doesn't, make any money. Like the morning announcements is incredibly successful. We are like expanding new things. We're launching right now, like all the day. I've been writing a news breakdown uh about Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. So like we're expanding to try to make it more lucrative so that we can, expand it and try to do more things that, we believe in doing. However, that is like a much bigger, like you need to, in order to sustain that, like it needs to be like the Bulwark or
Yeah.
Crooked or something like really, Vox, like
Yeah.
things that are like really, really top number one. Like,
Yeah.
and so subscribe to Betches News and to me. But my point is like and then I personally am able to make content that I want
Right.
because
You have
and
a
and I
job.
don't take more money because I'm paid a salary through Betches and because we sold the business to a public company in the UK. And all of that is like publicly available information. It is all like I am very fortunate to not feel like, oh, I should take more money in addition to my salary. It
Mhm.
is not worth it to me because I want to preserve, like honestly, part of it is like there's kind of like I want to be able to say what like I really think and not
Mhm.
have to say things when I don't like feel strongly, or I don't want to have to feel like there's an incentive other than what I think. And like that's a very unique position I'm able to
Yeah.
be in. I don't know if I'll always be able to like be in a position where I'm not like monetizing something additional,
Yeah.
but I know that having worked in this situation, like transparency is like really what matters.
Yes.
But most creators are not in these conditions.
No.
Like we chose to start a media company rather than become influencers based on our personalities. Like it's not about that. It's about a bigger picture. And I think that people miss, especially as social media has become more algorithmic, like it's all incentivized by rage and
Yes.
virality and like financially
Mhm.
creators are incentivized to
Be more.
do things that are more controversial or rage inducing. And I think that like eh, whether or not someone's being directly paid,
Mhm.
you know, paying someone $8,000 a month, or in many cases it was way less money.
Way
Like
less.
they weren't
Yes.
all getting that. Like
No.
paying someone that amount of money to feel like, oh, they're like relatively stable is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, so much better for society than just like letting them run wild and just try to make money on like what's most algorithmically
Right.
rage inducing, whether it's true
Right.
or not.
Right. And it's so funny because both with this article and I don't know if you've been following a lot of people, a lot of creators lately, and this reminds me that I need to do this, have been part of a sponsored campaign by Delete Me. And
Yeah.
so I think they're doing well because they keep getting more and more people and they keep re-upping people's contracts. It does seem like a very good idea and it's very effective when these creators who we trust are saying like this is something I use to protect me from, hey, the crazy people on the internet. And everybody keeps like going after them being like what is this? This is like they're going to take our information, or why are you pushing this? And they're like I'm trying to make money. So if you don't want me to do advertisement and paid partnerships, you don't want me to go into an incubator where I'm paid to do trainings, because there are some donors, not enough, but there are some donors who are like, I need to invest in this ecosystem. I need to put money in the hands of the people who understand the ins and outs of this and want to equip these people with the ability to not have to work full-time jobs and be able to make content every day. Like if anybody follows Keith Edwards, that guy like turns his camera on
It's
at 9 in the morning and is
Keith
either
is an
researching
algorithmic
or
savant. Like
yeah,
that's
he's
what I need
yes.
to say. Like, and I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a like if savant is not a proper word, but I mean that in the colloquial use of the world.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he is an expert at growth. Like
Right.
social media growth. Like, he should be paid a lot of money for what he does by
And I mean,
people.
this is an oversimplification,
It is a
but
skill.
he spends a lot of time putting content out. Like, he is
Oh,
just
he's on the internet all the
constantly
time.
constantly putting out content. Like, and so you want him to be doing that. And as I said, he's literally on the internet, like,
Same with
producing
Aaron
content.
Parnas.
Yes,
Like,
for
these
like
people don't
12
get off
hours.
the
Same with
internet.
Katie. Remember we were at dinner
Yeah,
with Katie?
beef.
She's like, I gotta go. The
Yeah.
news is happening. I was like, can I eat her
No, they
spaghetti?
don't.
Like, what? Like, they don't have lives. They are constantly working. So, like, how would you like them to live? You don't want them to do delete me. You don't want them to join these incubators, but you want us to win. So, this kind of brings us to what I think is like the deeper issue going on here is that there's all of this outrage, and some people are trying to figure out how the way they feel about it and disclosures and trying to understand the nuance and the ins and outs of the new media space. But there was so much outrage from this article and so much, I called it dog whistling, and like underlying tenor about people being upset that they were getting money because that meant their content was controlled. And the underlying the not even read between the lines, because she went on like 3 lives and talked about Gaza and that they were controlling them to not talk
I didn't
about
watch.
Gaza before the election. Course didn't exist before the election. By the way, I can list off like 9 creators off the top of my head that I know that are in course because they've either publicly disclosed it or I've been told that they're in it and it's not a secret. I would say 9 out of 9 of them have actually spoken about Gaza. And by the way, this dark money, the 1630 fund, they've given to Cory Bush. They've given to Bernie Sanders. Like, so she's creating this thing that like it's very, and why I say it's an anti-Semitic dog whistle, it's very Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jewish space lasers. There's a cabal of Jewish people controlling the media. That has been a narrative for a long time. And now that we're in this new media space, oh, now they're controlling new media. And so she
They're
was
so not. Trust
definitely
me,
they're
they
so
are
not.
so not. That's like the
And I
sad
think the
part. It's
other
like
side is if anybody's
if
controlling anything, it's
like
like it's very Trump, like pointing the finger, and there's 4 more pointing back at you.
well, it's like they clocked the one attempt and we're like, you guys are just control. Like, no, this has been 5 years of this
Right.
on the other side. And not just the other, like foreign adversaries. Like, people talked a lot about dark money. You know, Sheldon Whitehouse has run a series on dark money.
Mm,
I'm learning how many people didn't know dark money was a thing until now. It's a thing. And most of the time, people were talking about it in the context of like the Koch brothers trying to pollute the air and water so that they could
no.
make more money. Like, that's how people, and what
Of
else? Like the
course.
Heritage Foundation. Like, it's so
Yeah.
much
Or the
more
West Texas
the
Billions. No,
national.
it's foreign
It's an, it's,
adversaries.
it's, yeah. Do people realize that like we've been bought and sold and like we're fucked?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a bigger issue. Like,
You're a
there's
victim of
bigger
your
problems than like
yeah.
whether these creators are getting $8,000 maximum a month. Like, there are real problems here. And this is what I actually wish the Dems, like these people who are involved in this, would do instead of responding like, well, what are we supposed, like,
Mm.
they need to do like a little Gavin Newsom thing and be like,
Mm.
yeah, fuck you. This is how it works. You know who made it this way? They did.
You. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what I think. Like, they need to like change the conversation. Like, you have outrage about it, channel it to something that
Yeah.
isn't like, they just never, no one ever
Take
learns
take
how to
back the
change the
narrative.
conversation. Think about what Trump does every time he is in a tight spot. You just say something else. Say
Yeah.
something else. Make it about something else. Don't be like, no, it's not this. Like,
Mhm.
actually, the contract said blah, blah, blah. Like, no. You have a problem with dark money? Who invented that?
Yeah.
Who pays the most? Show them some fucking charts of
Yeah.
who donates the most. Like, use your platforms to actually change the conversation, and don't be so afraid that you got accused of taking money. Like, no one's going to believe you that this doesn't impact what you say, even if it's not possible to be true. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would never say in any circumstance that I really strongly believe the quote, it's hard to get someone to see something when their salary depends on not seeing it. It's just human. It's human. You can't blame
Yeah.
humans. What they're asked to do aligns with what they already think, but it it doesn't matter. It's like no one believes it anyway. So just
Right.
say, expose why it is this way and like make
So
it about something else.
I agree. And then that kind of brings me to one of my bigger questions for you is
Mhm.
there, so we established in the case of Chorus, it is not direct pay to play as alleged by the
No,
reporter. They
it's
get
not.
paid to be part of a program, and there's nothing in their contract that requires them to talk about something or not talk about something. As you said, there is obviously I think that's a great idiom about not seeing something when your salary depends on it. So of course
That's just
there
human
may
nature.
always be. So, but what about when it is more direct? Because that does exist too. So, what Chorus is doing, we described, but like my C4, we will take money from a client or a donor and we will pay creators to specifically talk about something online. Now, it's my belief that the more wide range you give a creator on an assignment or something you want them to talk about, the more authentic it's going to be and the better it's going to perform. So, like, my ethos as a consultant and a organization is to really let the creator drive the narrative and make sure, obviously, like if they're not vibing or ideologically aligned with the issues that we want them to talk about, then like cool. It's on a case by case basis. You're
Yeah.
not part of a program. You're not required to do anything once you sign a contract. We don't really do like those specific types of contracts. So how do we as Democrats, now that I said I'm like radical transparency, how do people, how do others, because it has gone all across the spectrum of people saying, I think that that's wrong. That's morally wrong to take money to talk about something and not disclose it. I've had other people be like, great, this is exactly what they're doing on the right. You think all those trad wives are just pushing an agenda? The trad wife that I'm currently beefing with, Josh Hawley was in her wedding. She's like besties with, like, she is a psyop, you guys. Like, so they're
I don't know who
doing
you're talking
it.
about, but I don't know. But
Oh,
well,
Brooke
tell me later.
Reynolds, a
But
whole nother.
I think that, okay, two things. Like, I think that like radical transparency, like, I'm sure I don't know what the terms would be. Like, can you talk about how you're being paid to talk about this
Yeah.
in that video? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that if the person is like a support, like is if it's not that out of the realm of possibility that they would say
Mhm.
this anyway, then they wouldn't have a problem just saying like they're being paid for it. There's obviously, I think your point about giving someone like a lot of breadth to do like breadth or a lot of leeway to do what they want, that's obviously very important. I think that's like really helpful. And you want to pick people who would say it anyway, who are ideologically aligned. And also, if you have a problem with this system, then there's a Supreme Court to take it up with. No one, I think this is insane. Like,
Oh, yeah, I
it's
hate it. I
fucking
think it's
crazy. Money should
I
not be
would
speech,
yeah,
period. But like,
I would
I would
love to
even
be
say
out of a
that,
job. Like
like, by the way, like, I would be like, okay, listen, like, I mean, I would only take money for something that I would like very clearly say. But and I would say that I was taking the money. But if
mhm,
I felt, I'd be like, okay, I really care about this. I'm working with this organization to talk about XYZ. Like, it doesn't have to be like they're paying me, I'm so paid because
yeah,
of this. It's like I'm working with this organization, which has a mission of blah, 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 this thing that you probably already know that I would support. And here's more about it. And this is what I'm going to talk about. And like, okay, if you have an issue with why it's done this way, let's talk about that in another video because it's really messed up. And if you want to like really reform this country, like money should not be speech. It is fundamentally fucked up. And if you have a problem with any one lobby, if you have a problem with this country, that country getting their little tentacles into things, then stop. Then that's what you have to tackle. It's not about like whether one creator or another is doing this. Like, you have a problem with the system and it's a valid problem. And it's like this on purpose. So stop attacking the people who are fundamentally pretty much aligned with you because we are all engaging in an information war without knowing it.
right, and working towards the same things. Working to elect more Democrats so that they can then try to overturn Citizens United.
Well, if
So
they're gonna do that, this is my problem with them. Like, I don't believe that they're gonna do that. Like, I actually have an issue with, can I be honest? Like, one of the reasons I, don't want to align with, any, why I wouldn't wanna be part of, a party, not that I wouldn't support individuals or causes, but I'm like, "Why do I give a fuck about this party?" Like, they're not gonna do anything that I actually agree with. Like, where's the actual proposals to do anything, really long term? Like, they haven't really been governing. So, I'm not, okay, I'm supporting who's doing stuff. I'm supporting people who are actually, moving forward and trying to actually be in opposition, but there's no governing happening right now. And
right.
they should do that,
Yeah.
And maybe more people would support them.
Yeah. And fine. I think a lot of times people want the DNC to be this. They want a heritage foundation. They want a Project 2025. And
You're
it's like,
right.
if that's what you want, go work on that. I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of armchair quarterbacking happening. Like Dem should do this, DNC should do this, Ken Martin needs to be a leader. Like, if what you're saying is you want a heritage foundation, you want us to have a 10-year plan, that's not the DNC. That it wasn't the
That's never their
RNC.
job.
Wasn't the
Yeah.
RNC that did Project
No, there
2025.
was no plan. First of all, there was no plan until Donald Trump was able to get away with an insurrection. And then he had 4 years to wash his reputation and to get himself elected. There was never a plan. Does anyone remember the first term? It was someone says, it's why I may never vote Dem again. Okay, here's what I would say to that. You aren't voting for every Democrat in the world ever. You're voting for the one in your district or your state, or the president. So, judge that person or those people. See what they're going to do. I mean, what is a what is a Republican? What is a Democrat at this point? There is
Right.
it's over, guys. It's done. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
sure,
think
they're
that
fake parties, but that's
you
not how this is working anymore.
right. And if you want to participate in our political system, I took this from your book, you need to find the elements of it, the really specific elements of it. There it is. Available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Democracy in Retrograde. And that you feel lit up inside when you are working to change it. And we need you to get niche. So if that to you is you want to support party infrastructure, right? The DNC's role is to sue when there is election issues, do voter protection, and literally pay the electric bills of state parties. So if that resonates with you, then go get involved with the DNC
And then
and get
they
intimately involved and criticize them.
But
Or
they
if you
also
want to
give to candidates. They give to they allocate money to candidates. The
post
thing is, post-primary, anyone who's running on the Democratic ticket, they are giving money to them. Obviously, there's, decisions being made there, but, I don't think that that's an effective place to be putting the money anyway. It should all be individual candidates, and I don't think that candidates should if you need the DNC, I actually don't think you should be a candidate, frankly. If you can't raise money off your person, in this system, then you actually can't win. That's the thing. It's this idea of the DNC, what are they doing? What is the Democratic leadership doing? What would money even matter? It's not gonna, money to those centralized groups even matter. They're just, what are they doing? And it's not that they can do anything other than create a spectacle. And I know there's people who their job is to say they've stopped XYZ things. And maybe they have. I'm sure they have. Wonderful. But look around.
Yeah, we clearly haven't stopped enough. But I think, right. And so if that is not a place where you feel lit up and that your time, energy, and resources aren't advancing and aligning with how you want the direction of our political ecosystem to move, then that's not your place.
Yeah.
If you're pissed off about dark money, then campaign finance reform is a place for you to invest yourself. And then the same kind of goes with creators. So to kind of put a bow on everything, it's a lot of what is the truth and who aligns with me and are they taking money? I think the answer is individual media literacy, which you are great at and I think can kind of talk about, and finding you had a good way of saying this, not somebody you trust, but
someone you believe is acting in good faith.
yeah.
So trust is like it can be a very dangerous thing to weaponize. Like, think about how Donald Trump has weaponized people's trust. Like, if you have sort of just like general, if you're looking for someone you trust and you like them, like that's a very emotional thing. What I think people should be looking for is trying to distinguish good faith operators on the internet from bad faith operators. Like, are people trolling? Are they spreading misinformation? Are they like sort of like dispensing questionable points at questionable times? Do they apologize or say, backtrack if they said something wrong? Do they like correct themselves? Whatever it is, like if someone calls it, like what do they say? Like, look for people who are operating in good faith. Are they trying to like spark a conversation that is
Mm.
whatever? And don't be afraid to like call people out for like operating in bad faith. I think that's something that like is so hard to like. Sometimes it's like you don't want to question someone's motives, but it's like, no,
Yeah.
actually, like I'm questioning your motives fundamentally.
Yeah.
I think that you might have a point, but like you're full of shit generally. And I think that it's like insidious. And obviously you want to like trust people, but it is so easy to perpetuate conversations that are being perpetuated for reasons that like you might not be in agreement with. It's so easy to like you know, it's just very there's like a lot more to the digital conversation than like we think, that it's just like,
Mhm.
oh, information kind of being exchanged naturally.
Right, right.
There's like there is like a military grade narrative operation like
Mhm.
working on Americans like
Yes.
psychographics
Right.
essentially. And I think that like when we enter a conversation, whether it's about Taylor Swift
Mm.
or Gaza, those like the way we're getting algorithmically sorted into different groups is having a meaningful effect on our realities and
Yes.
dehumanizing all types of people. Like,
Yes.
no one can really escape that
Right.
dehumanization that is being weaponized.
Right. And the people that it
So,
will
yeah.
impact the most long term are marginalized groups. And it's just a really important conversation to have as a person who spends any amount of time online. If you are a creator, understanding that responsibility, understanding the impacts of the things that you say and the fights that you pick. And by the way, I think that's important. I think creating meaningful discourse that gets a lot of people involved and garners attention. I mean, that's what we're doing here. But
Yeah.
it comes with a great responsibility and we, for some reason, I think because we hold it in our hands and we hold it so close to us and it feels like a FaceTime, and also that sometimes you do have a parasocial relationship with the person, like they respond back to you. It's much more two-way than watching the news. We don't like protect ourselves or arm ourselves enough of like, okay, I'm being advertised to, I'm being persuaded, I'm being sent a message that has an agenda behind it, whether it's paid or not paid. Like,
Go
I'm
watch
not being
Josie and
paid
the
to say this,
Pussycats.
but right, but
Everyone should
I
watch
kind of
Josie and the Pussycats.
why?
It because it's like that's like what's happening, but like not in the movie. Like like it's
Okay,
a
okay,
just go watch it. It's
okay.
do you remember that movie? Like
No, I don't
it's
think I
held up really
do.
well.
I
It's
mean, I
about like
remember, yeah,
you
when it
you
came
just have
out,
to
but I
see it.
never watched it. Okay, okay, I'll
Okay,
watch
you
it.
gotta watch it. That's like the message essentially
Is
of
that
the
you're
movie.
constantly being there's like
Advertised to,
a
yes.
yes, there's a good, TikTok that went around, like, a couple of weeks ago that was like, "They're coming to monopolize and monetize every waking moment of your attention."
Attention
So
fracking is the
yeah,
term used by Chris Hayes in The
yes, oh,
Sirens.
his book is very everybody needs to read, The Siren's Call, which I heard him speak about to then, like, fully loop it back to the beginning. I heard him speak about at a Democracy Matters conference, where that is the group that is raising $20 million. First of all, they haven't this is another thing with, like, media and the things that get spread online, and everybody's $20 million to speak to men. They had a goal to raise $20 million to do a program of focus groups, understanding who we most needed to move to our side in the next election and where they were getting their media. And then, yeah, to invest in media voices that can combat or be an alternative to the manosphere. So when it put like that, I think that that's like a lot more that resonates with people more than $20 million to speak to American men. And
Well, it's the New York Times.
yeah.
They've been just wonderful
Yeah.
stewards of the
Yeah.
truth.
I mean, they know they got to get clicks, right? They know that
That,
people will see
yes,
that and go,
yes.
$20 million.
This is back to the incentives. The clicks, they need it for money. Just as a creator does, so does the New York Times. So does CBS, NBC. The world revolves around money, and the reason it doesn't have to be this much. The world's always kind of revolved around money, but it doesn't have to be to this hyper extent. It is to this hyper extent because of hypercapitalism and Citizens United. And it didn't have to be like this, but it is. And they made it that way.
Yes.
There was just one other thing that I feel like I just wanted to say about, what were you saying? It was.
Before we were talking about Chris Hayes, before I started talking about Democracy Matters,
And democracy. Oh, this is okay. Wait, it was democracy, good faith, people. Okay. This is like, I think, a good rule. Do you believe that, like, would you say this to if you're online, you have to take yourself out of the context of online sometimes to like check your own thoughts. Like, if you had to actually take this thought and this way of operating, this comment offline, could you do it? Would you do it? Would you do it like in those words?
Yeah.
And like, it's very dehumanizing when I would say that's like the thing I try to do most. Like, would I be like embarrassed to like show my friends that I did this?
Right.
Like,
Right. And
if
how would
everyone
you
could see this
react?
comment.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're a commenter, would you say that in real life? And if you're a creator, like, there's something to be said for running it by an IRL person when it's a more intense take. Like right after the shooting in Minneapolis, I started my activism and my online creator life in the gun violence prevention space. And when I found out the Minneapolis shooting happened, I was on a call about passing a piece of legislation in Illinois. That's a great piece of legislation that probably isn't going to pass because our Illinois General Assembly sucks. And I felt so just hopeless about the ability to pass. I mean, federal, never going to happen for decades. We're never going to pass federal gun violence prevention legislation, but even at the state level. And I made several stories and reels where I was just screaming at the internet, railing against Democrats, federal, state, gun violence prevention groups, individual people, the leaders, name dropping. And my husband was like, and my mom were like, no, this is, so you need and I wouldn't in real life, if I were standing up at my community meeting, I wouldn't say those things. I
Do it
wouldn't.
differently.
I would be thinking, look, all these people, these heads of these organizations or these people who have invested their time, they're staring at me and they're watching me say this. But there's just something so insulated about the internet that people feel so much more emboldened to do things. And by the way, it gets likes and clicks. So even subconsciously, you're told to get out there and do your thing. And the last thing I'll say about creators is I think a lot of people who share their views on the internet are the type of people who somewhat thrive on conflict.
Mhm.
It lights up dopamine in our brain. Like, I grew up fighting with my brother, but like in a way that like somehow I liked the conflict.
Yeah.
The therapist can diagnose that one. So there's a lot of that same psychology happening there online that you almost thrive when people disagree with you. So these are all just things as a creator or a person. We need more people sharing their thoughts and views and opinions online, but we need to have our own media literacy. We need to have our own self-awareness of this ecosystem that we're participating in. We have to move the ship forward. We have to have more donors, more creators, more organizations, more and more and more, so we can compete with what they have on the right. But we have to be very careful about how and where we're steering this ship.
Transparently. Yeah. And, like, I would also encourage everyone to, like, talk to, like, regular people. Like, what's in your
Mm,
feed is curated for you. What about, like, the people who don't vote? Like, find the 90 million people who didn't vote.
right,
They're not in your feed. They're not watching you. They're not changing minds. Find new people.
right, right,
So,
and find and as our ecosystem, find the people who those people are gonna listen to,
exactly.
and
Well,
and and
and.
resource them accordingly.
Yeah. Money.
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 So, yes, money makes the world go round, it makes this industry go round, it makes media go round, and transparency and, like, actively participating and understanding how it works, I think, is the name of the game, and Taylor Lorenz is a hack, is my is how I'll end this. I said,
Well,
um,
just,
and thrives on clicks, just like everything that we're talking about.
I mean, she is like the ultimate online person.
Yeah.
That's what I'll
Yeah.
say.
You can see how it really starts to, like, melt someone's brain.
Exac
So now all of you get offline and go have a
Yeah,
conversation in real life. Turn your phone off. Thank you, everyone, for joining this and for your questions and your input. And I would love to keep this conversation going with you.
definitely. And no one's gonna turn their phone off because they're,
We're talking.
watching. Yeah, they're watching.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
Bye.
This was fun. Where do I go to